All right, guys. So here is the new Jake Muller inspired pistol. Um, a lot of it, I just had to come up with some details, basically on my own. And so, anyways, so this is going to be the assembly of it. This is the way it'll look when it's done. Uh, so it has spring loaded trigger and stuff in it. It's actually a pretty cool um, pistol, um, especially coming from just like a low detail model and stuff that they had created. Yeah. So, anyways, let's get started. Here is the way it'll come. Everything out here. Slide mag. Side over there. Yeah, I'm gonna grab my marker. All right, so basically, we've got the receiver section of it. We've got the slide. It's actually kind of a cool slide. We've got the mag. The mag. Oh, and the mag is also removable as well. It's held in with the magnet and stuff. Let's get the parts out here. There's the grips. These are going to be your grip logos, and this is stickers, which get to the part I'll show you. Just we cut them out with a pair of scissors, and stick. After you paint, you'll stick them on, and you can clear coat right over them, and they come out looking phenomenal. There should be a picture at the beginning of the video or somewhere in the video I'll show you of the painted version that Michael with Fan Fiction Props did, and it came out absolutely beautiful. Logos, our hardware, all of our little small parts pile there. This little laser, not laser, I don't know, but anyways, it's one of those things that they put on a gun in the game that doesn't actually make much sense. I mean, it makes sense. There was some thought to like side levers to push forward to unlock to take off, and I mean, I'm assuming it's a laser from the what details that I could ever really see. But get in here. Here's our two magnets. It's going to be for the mag and hardware. So let's go ahead and just get. So what we have is we have a spring for the trigger. We have our 4 grip screws, and we have our set screw. Now, this is not a headless screw. This is what's called a set screw. And if you notice in one end, it has an opening, and that opening is going to be for, let me find the correct bits here. It's going to be for an Allen. And I know this is not an Allen, this is a Torx bit. But one of these little sets like this, what I build everything with. I mean, it's like $10 Harbor Freight. It has basically every size bit that you could ever want when doing stuff like this. But if you see, it goes, I mean, it fits in there, and that's how you put it in. And most people, if you have anything that you've assembled around your house that you bought and had to assemble that came with small Allen wrenches, the little L-shaped thing, 9 times out of 10, they were small to the point that I believe it's a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench that's needed if you don't have like a little set or one of the little fold out sets of the Allen wrenches. But so we have our barrel insert, we have our hammer, we have our little knob that goes on the side of the laser, our trigger, our front sight, our rear sight, our little slide button that goes in the front of our slide right here. Have our slide lock that goes on the side. Our safety, which in the sheet, this sheet that will be in the assembly diagrams folder on the website, it's labeled as a fire selector. But that's just simply because whenever I was creating it, I was just wrapping up doing the RoboCop gun. And on the RoboCop gun, this was a fire selector, and I just happened to type fire selector. But it's the safety switch. So, on the RoboCop gun, it was to go from single shot, triple shot, full auto. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get this together. And really, well, I kind of suggest to do this first, the magnet, before you get into, if you get frustrated easily. I'm not saying that I do, but I'm just saying this is the easiest thing to screw up when building this. And so this is my little technique, and people that buy my kits a lot or watch my live streams or anything probably get tired of hearing me say this, but it's my little mantra that I do to keep myself from screwing this up. Because if you put the magnets in backwards or wrong, because you got to put one in here in the back of the mag, and you got to put one in here in the back of the receiver. Okay, if you put them in opposing, when you put the slide in, it's just going to want to push the slide, or the mag in, it's just going to push the mag right back out. So you have to make sure that when you put them together, you put them to where they attract each other. So I just take a Sharpie, and a lot of y'all are going, I would never do that. You know how many of you guys, I get contact me like, hey man, how much is it for some extra magnets? Because kind of screwed up. And the problem is if you put it in both parts, you got to either get another one of these or another one of these, or be able to dig the magnet out so you can put another one in there. So I'm not trying to freak anybody out or scare anybody, because as long as you do this, it's very simple. Just put a black mark, or if you have a red Sharpie, green Sharpie, whatever. I've just got a bunch of black Sharpies laying around everywhere because I have to mark metal and cut stuff all the time. So anyways, so here's your mark on both sides. Good to go. What we're going to do is, let's cover this real quick. You can use thick super glue, and I always say thick because people, if you get the thin super glue, the crap runs everywhere, gets everywhere. And most people know when super glue dries, it turns white, or it flashes white, and it leaves crappy residue. So if you're going to use super glue, use thick super glue. You can use model glue. I don't suggest hot glue, but I've heard people say they have perfect luck with hot glue. I'm a fan of hot glue for certain uses, but not particularly in model building. What I use is CA glue. And if you do any kind of cosplay, costume building, model building, anything like that, CA glue, if you never use it, get it. It's two-part. I really don't want to say two-part. It's basically super glue minus the ability to, when it hits oxygen, to immediately start flashing. This is what you spray on the part to activate it. So what I do is I put the glue on the part that I want to glue, and I'll spray a little bit on the part where I'm attaching the part. And when the two come together, then they start flashing. That way you can put something together, move it around, be like, okay, that's where I want it, and hold it and hit it with the activator and wait just a second, and it's good to go. But so what we're going to do here, and CA glue's pretty fairly cheap, like this, I mean, I'm not endorsing this brand. I'm just going to say it's been an awesome brand. I had to change the brands I was using because I kept getting broken bottles, old stuff, just glue that wouldn't actually set. So I was having issues with them. So I actually ran across this, bought it in a quickness, and have ended up loving it and used it for the past 2 years. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to first make sure that okay, cool. Not let this And on these magnets, you don't need a bunch. If you see, there's just a little dot in there, because when you put these in, it's going to spread out. And when it spreads out, it's going to goo everywhere. And if you've already painted it, I actually would put the magnets in, then paint the parts. But I'm just going to hit the back side of that magnet. And I've got both magnets together right now. And then I just take that magnet and slide it off. Okay, so now that magnet's in there. It's set. It's not going anywhere. Now, the whole mantra was put the mark to the back, black to the back, the red, green, whatever color it is you're going to use and you get in the habit of using. That's just like I have to repeat things because, well, my ADHD kicks in and I've got 19 different things that I'm thinking about and doing all at the same time. And if I don't, it's just like I don't remember people's names. I will meet you 10 times and I will not remember your name. I will remember you by description, and I will make myself remember something about you to try my best to attach your name to your face. And I've even met people, walked off, and for the next 10 minutes said their name over and over and over again while thinking about them to try to attach that memory. And 5 minutes after I stopped doing it, I'm like, what the heck was that person's name? I'm just bad about it. So anyways, so my thing is I put black to the back side where these were connected. I slid this off, and so I'm going to go black to the back side. I'm just going to do the same thing. And that's the other good thing. Like right now, I don't have to rush because of this glue. So there's just a little dot in there. So what I'm going to do is now flip this over. I almost just sprayed that. And my brain would have said, pick it up, flip it over, put it in. We want to put the black side in first. So we're going to take it, flip it back over. Now my thumb just took all of it off. And hopefully that didn't just flip when I stuck it in there and lost control of it. But we'll see in just a second. All right. There we go. Bam. Holds. Got to pull it back out. Holds fairly well. You can like hold the gun from it. So there it is. Easy peasy. And like I said, I would just want to get that out of the way. And I would suggest, again, putting them in before you paint, because now you can paint. And when you pull this out, you won't see this because it'll all be painted the same. And these set fairly flush. You know, I got them as close as possible in taking into account, you know, glue thickness or anybody gumming up a bunch of stuff in there. So anyway, so there's the mag out of the way. Okay. All right. So now, the next part is this model is fairly simple to put together. What we can do is we have the barrel that needs to go in. I made it 2 separate pieces so that you can, and I've actually loosened up the tolerances in this barrel to this a little bit more than what this one is, because this is one of my earlier test prints. And I was like, all right, cool, it's good to go. Because I want you to be able to paint this, get it all nice and silver or whatever color you want to make the barrel, and then put it in, glue it, you know, put it in after you've painted it, because it, on pretty much all guns, but it also looks the best is if you make this barrel a separate shade than what the slide is. And so I just try to make it to where I take an account for thicknesses of layers of paint and clear coat and stuff on parts that you're going to put together. I do always recommend to people to stick models together, and like this, I would paint the slide separately from the receiver. One, that way you don't end up filling up this seam line with paint and making it disappear, because you don't want it to disappear, because that's an actual slide to receiver seam line on what would be, you know, a real pistol. And so I always tell people to kind of stick stuff together to see where you do and don't need to paint. Like in painting this, I would attach or grab it by this right here, or do that and be able to paint. Now, doing that, you can paint the bottom side if you want to, but you don't have to in these matting surfaces right here. And same goes here. I mean, you can literally put something in there as a way to hold. Not so much there because I left room inside of here for you to get paint down in here. So, you know, there's slack, you know, for the paint on this and the paint inside of here. So what we'll do is I'm just going to take a drop of glue and put it on the butt end of this barrel. Again, it don't take much. Now I'm just going down in there and there. Now it's done. It's already dried. It's already set. This little knob piece here, it's flat on one side and it has like this little design on the front side. That goes right here in the front. And if this is a little tight fit, you know, like this piece specifically, it prints standing on end. So it prints with that end up first. So any of these holes, if they feel just a little snug for, you know, again, I would paint this separate. Glad that did not go off the table. That would have been a pain in the butt to find. I'd paint that separate, then put it in just that way, because you don't fill in the seam line where the two meet. You want that seam line as a separation because it gives everything depth when you're doing any painting. But you can simply just go around the hole with a file, or if you have one of these cheap PVC pipe reaming tools, which you can literally buy anywhere. This one I absolutely do not like because this just flops around. I like the cheap little plastic ones from like Home Depot, because when you lock your blade in, it actually drags on it and makes this not so floppy. This one just flops everywhere and it's just a pain in the butt to use. That's why I have it in here and not out in the print room where I have to clean up hundreds upon hundreds of parts every day. But anyways, so we got that in. Now we have our front and rear sights. Oh wait, we didn't put that in. All I did was clean that up. There goes the thinking 10 different things at once. Anyways, so we put our little dot in there. This one I'm not going to spray in first because I want to put the design, this little design, to where it's level. So I'm going to pop that in. I'm going to take my thumbnail and I'm going to twist this till I get this straight-ish. Okay, so bam, kind of did the design straight there. And now I can spray that and it will go down in there. But if you notice, if I was to glue all this together and then paint, I would lose the seam line around this slide pin. And I don't want to do that. And I would lose the seam line around the barrel and the slide. And I don't want to do that, because everything that you can do to keep those seam lines, 9.999 times out of 10, when I design my kits, I always separate the parts at natural seam lines. Or if I can't, I separate them in areas that are going to be hidden by other parts when it's assembled. I hate when I see people just take a model and they're just like, hack, here you go, it's 3D printable. No, it's not. No, it's not. You just took some model and hacked it apart, and you didn't account for anything. You didn't account for tolerances, nothing. You just hacked the crap out of somebody's work and said, here, look, I created a 3D printable part or kit. No, you didn't. Anyways, so this rear sight slides into its, and I mean, it's locked in there, but we're going to glue it because it has the ability to slide left and right. And you have your front sight, and on your front sight, if you notice, it's kind of like almost not a triangle, but it's raised on one end and shorter on the other. And on this end, it's got a hole. That end, the higher end, is going to be the back side, facing back that way. If that, here, try to put it on the right end. where this goes is, so now this is the back. If you notice, the high end is right here on the back end with this dot, because that dot on a front sight of most pistols, you could dab you in like neon green or red for your sight dot, which when you have your sights together and you're looking down your sights, that dot would be directly in the center of that rear sight. So anyways, try not to be too long-winded here. I know most of y'all are just wanting to assemble and you don't need my advice or anything. I totally get it. So instead of spraying it, I'm going to go ahead and slide this in together. And I hate putting glue in slide areas because, see, it comes out this side. So I'll push it a little further than I need to so I can push it out, wipe it off. And once I have it where I want it, just hit it with a little activator. Blow it in there a little bit. There we go. It's locked. All right, so now the front one. Straggler there. So again, just a little drop. High side to the back with a dot. Actually could have pre-sprayed this one. This one we want to make sure centered from left to right, which I meant to say that too. Make sure it's centered. Get it centered. And again, that's why I like the CA glue, because you can either choose to make it immediately start curing the second you put parts together, or you can wait, put parts together, move them around, get them just right, and then lock them in place with your activator. All right, so that is it for the slide. So we can go ahead and put the slide together, but I'm going to wait. We're going to cover the spring real quick. On the spring, it's like you put it to the hole and you're like, hey, it won't fit. Put pressure on it and rotate it counterclockwise. And you have to go counterclockwise because clockwise doesn't collapse the spring down. But if you go counterclockwise, see? And so as you're going counterclockwise, all it's doing is it's actually shrinking the diameter of this spring and popping it in there. And so then all we're going to do is put this in. And the reason I'm doing this is if you notice, the pocket for the spring is in the slide. So once it's all together, it's all locked in there. You can still, even once you glue the slide on, take the screw out of the trigger if you need to and take it out. I'm just doing it this way to show to you what it looks like once it's together. So I'm going to take my Allen. This is where we're going to use this set screw. And what I usually do is I put the set screw in the hole and I look down one direction. Now, what you have to understand is any screw in my kits will be cutting threads. So you don't print little tiny threads like this and they work worth a crap. And the screws cutting their own threads actually works better. So now I'm just trying to hold the trigger so that I hit that hole right there. And we're going to screw all the way through that hole to the other side of the receiver. So screw in, and if you hit a dead stop like that, like I just hit, it won't go anymore, and it's pressing on the trigger. Back up a little bit and move it around until it hits that hole. And now that I hit, I just go all the way in and stop. And there we go. So now the trigger's in there, spring's in there. So really now what we can do is just run glue down these beads right here. Don't put glue in the spring pocket. And we'll put that together. And again, I can take that out and take the trigger out, put it back in, whatever I need to do after it's glued together. But this way I could kind of demonstrate to you what's going on inside there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue. I'm going to run down the top of this channel. Maybe put a little bit in here. Down the top of this channel. Be careful about putting it on the outside of this channel because when you glue it together, it'll squish out. I'm just going to put the spring pocket in there. I'm going to press this all together. See, there's even though I didn't put much there, there was still a little bit that still squished out. So once it's painted, you know, be a little bit more tactical about how you put your glue on there. Don't be globby like I was in that. Because of course, once it's painted, that's the other good part about this is once it's painted, you can stick these together and wipe your glue off and get it off of your paint job. Now, I always suggest to do your paint job, assemble it, and then clear coat last. It just ends up working out better that way. And of course, the clear coat, even if it filled in this seam, it's clear. It's clear coat, you know. So there we go. So now that's assembled. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to go ahead and put our hammer in. The hammer's got the circle on it. It just sets right in there. I get people ask all the time, why do I make all of my models like my RoboCop gun where the slide works and like this is my RoboCop gun. And it has the actual mag release, but it also has the slide hammer. Pull it back, it's got the slide lock. The reason I don't make all of my guns like this, all of my models, here it is unpainted, is it not only increases the complexity of the build, but it increases the price of the kit because there's a lot more labor in cleanup in each one of those parts and meticulous cleanup in those parts, and then hardware. And of course, the more hardware there is, the more expensive stuff gets, unfortunately. So I pick and choose my new 1858 I just finished. You know, it's got all the movable functional parts that the real one has. Well, this thing has a bunch of springs and specialty screws in it. Well, it's more expensive than my normal Remington 1858. Hardware cost, functionality. People are like, well, I don't understand why just the functionality cost. Most people are like, all you do is click print. That's all you do. You just click print and then you throw stuff in a bag. No, I spend 3 to 5 hours each day just cleaning up parts, removing support material, cleaning them, making sure they're good, on top of also paying my son that puts all the hardware kits together because there's all that time in the hardware kits. And then there's the $4,000 worth of screws in 2 drawers in my shop out there that are specialty screws for all these different kits. And, you know, all of that stuff adds up. And I would love to make all of my kits overly functional just because that's the part that I love more than anything. But like this Jake Muller here, I love this gun. And I would love to make a fully slide lock, you know, the whole thing, make it into something a lot more complicated because complexity is, again, what I like. But at the same time, the complexity is not always necessarily what someone, they're wanting an awesome replica that serves the function that they're looking for, cosplay, whatever it is. Halloween, just whatever. But not everything needs to be expensive. So if I can drop some of the functionality that's just kind of cool and move on and help bring the cost down so this isn't a $75, $80 kit. That's what it, but keep all the features and the dimensions and the details accurate. That's what I do on a lot of my different stuff. And so that's just a question I get asked all the time. And I'm like, look, all of that, all this slide, for example, when it prints, I take it off. I have to clean out a few pieces of support material. That RoboCop slide, when it prints, I have to gut the whole inside of support material, then take the support material off the outside, clean up a lot of little stragglers and stuff until I'm done and have like this pristine, hollowed out, fully functional slide. So you go from a minute or two of cleanup to 5+ almost 10 minutes of cleanup on one part to make sure it's right and good before I send it out to someone. All right, so on this laser, what we're going to do, this laser, same thing, it just glues right on. What we'll do real quick, though, is this knob is for the side of this. So we're just going to glue this on to the side. Sorry, didn't mean to get off into my rambling. I just wanted to answer some questions because I'll get asked a lot on this model. I do on all my basic ones. Why didn't I make this work or that work? And it's like, look, I have to pick and choose, and I have to figure out what the community wants. And when I talk to people before I do stuff, I'm like, do y'all want functionality, or do you want really, really cheap, or do you want some functionality and that will give a mid price? I have to gauge all of that because the thing is unlike a lot of people, I model all of this myself. I create all the kits myself. I don't go steal people's files offline. I don't go find someone else's files and take them and claim them and cut them up and say, look at what I created. I design every single thing myself. And so there's the expense of me actually designing, that time, lots of time. There's the expense of me creating the kits, the parts for the kits. There's a lot involved in it. It goes way further than just going and stealing other people's files and going, look what I do. This is what I do. So now that's all glued on there. Simple, easy peasy. So we'll go ahead and put our two grips on. So the grips, they just screw on just like normal grips do. We're going to take our four M4 flat blade screws. Most of y'all don't know my disdain for flat blade screws. I hate them. Again, I don't know why it took so many years for people that machinists and stuff to get away from these, come out with better screws. But I get during the time frame, especially like on older Western guns where everything was flat blade screws, the whole point was to make them serviceable, because you don't want to buy a pistol and get out in get out somewhere and you can't do anything to it. Well, at least with a flat blade, heck, if you had a strong enough thumbnail, you could get in and take a screw loose, or at least put a screw back in temporarily or something. People way back when did not carry around toolkits with them, but their pocket knife was a good flat blade screwdriver if need be. These in until they bottom out. Mags inside. What we'll do is I'll go ahead and show you the process for this. Let me put this glue up before it completely dries. totally shut. All right. So on these, and I send two sets with each one of these, just because if you screw them up, on some of my other pistol kits, I send logos that are on water transfer slide decals. You soak them in water and slide them off. I'm trying to get away from those because that's back from my era of model building, water slide decals. Most people that buy these don't have much modeling experience or have never dealt with water slide decals. But stickers, on the other hand, we've all used stickers. So basically, I'm just taking this, I'm just cutting to the round to the outside edge best as I can, just following the line. You don't have to be in a hurry. And I have to thank Michael with Fan Fiction Props, because he's the one that creates and draws up all my badges like this, because I can create anything mechanically, dimension wise, mechanical wise. Can't draw worth a crap. But you want me to build you a machine to do something specifically for you, not a problem. Draw you a pretty picture that moves you emotionally, we're both going to be sad. All right, so really detailed here, and just get rid of that one. And these right here, these are actually going to be a little bit darker, the background. This was just a test print that I did earlier before I took Michael his set for when he painted up the painted version, and we wanted them darker, didn't like how they came out, and he redid them for me, and I just haven't reprinted any yet. And there we go. Sticker. Now you can put the sticker to where it's dead level, like where it's straight up and down. Oh, no, here you go. See the same view I do. Straight up and down, but I put mine to where they're in line with the screws, which is what most guns are. You know what? I can't see. Easiest way so you don't have your big fingers in the way to apply a sticker or decal is stick it to something so you get it out of the way, and then you see where you want to put it, anchor it on one side. So now, all this glare off of here. See, that's what I was saying about we darken the crap out of it. But even at this color, when you clear coat over that, it looks so much different. It actually gets darker and it pops out. But we wanted something, because you got to also remember, this is going to be a black grip, so that stands out like crazy on that black. And then, of course, don't forget the orange tip that comes with it. Make sure that y'all do have that on there, because the ultimate end of responsibility in building these kits and stuff legally is you guys are responsible for making sure that that is put on there. Don't be running around outside, with that off, because unfortunately, yeah. Anyways, so make sure that's on there. There's the Jake Muller inspired kit. Sorry about getting long-winded on some of that stuff. I know most of y'all don't watch the other assembly videos, so I try to cover so much in each video between the painting, the gluing, and all that other stuff. But if you have any questions, just ask down below. I normally try to respond to every comment. So y'all have a good one.